Captain Susan Tamme was recently promoted to District Fire Chief of the Tampa Fire Rescue Department, making her the first female fire chief in the department's 119-year history. Her new district will include the USF campus where she received her master's degree.
Some of my early training was as a first aid instructor and a CPR instructor, and I used to teach swimming. So I've always kind of liked that whole rescue thing. I was a lifeguard for a lot of my younger years, and it only went natural that I became a paramedic. And while I was a paramedic, I worked in an emergency room in St. Petersburg, Bayfront. And just when I saw the firefighters bringing in the sick and injured, it was very natural. I found that it was my calling, and then I went on to challenge myself and become a firefighter. Because of the physical differences between men and women, it would seem obvious that we would want to have to prove ourselves. And in fact, in most of our training, the instructors set out to challenge us to make sure that we can meet the physical demands of the fire service. So was I accepted? I was definitely accepted. It was never held against me, and maybe perhaps I was always outperforming or overdoing the skills, repeating them over and over to make sure that I was definitely capable. I don't know that the other personnel were making me do that. It's just something that I think women inherently will do. So one of the first weeks on the job, we went on a call, and my lieutenant, we went to a childbirth. And it was happening right there in front of us. My lieutenant was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we're here." Pushed me into the back of the vehicle and said, "Now go do it." And it made it easy for me because I knew what the contractions felt like. I knew, what the pain and what to expect and how long and what we could do. And so even though you're trained as an EMT and a paramedic to know that, it really helps once you've experienced it to help with the delivery.
Luana Boffman recently became the personnel captain for Tampa Fire Rescue. Captain Boffman and Chief Tamme entered the department at the same time and have remained close throughout each other's careers.
We were assigned to the Ybor station on different shifts, but on the same rescue truck for several years. And then we were both promoted to captain within 3 months of each other. And we were the second and third female captains, and the first one had already retired. So we always leaned on each other. We were in the same district with the same chief, went to a lot of the same alarms, and whenever we would learn something different or have any experiences, a lot of times we would just drive home talking to each other on the phone.
I went and got my master's in technical adult education through the University of South Florida. My degree helped me because I was an instructor for the minimum standards program, teaching people to be firefighters. And then I also transitioned and helped educate our paramedics with their continuing education credits. So it enabled me to develop classroom courses that were interesting, that were relevant, and that kept people engaged. So that's what my education did. And then from there we went on to do just some of the research and some of the projects that I got put on some committees for picking the right materials for the fire service. So it opened the door and gave me a lot of opportunity for setting some standards for the education of firefighters.